The night was dark, and the stars above the alien planet looked like silver eyes watching from the sky. Captain James Walker stood outside his small landing ship, his boots pressing into the dusty ground. He had followed a strange signal across light years of space, and it brought him here. To a quiet and lonely world that seemed to hold secrets in every shadow. James was not new to danger. He had seen empty ruins, broken machines, and alien jungles in his years of exploring. But this place felt different. The air was heavy, the silence was deep, and he felt like something was waiting for him. The ground was dry, cracked like old bones, yet now and then he saw footprints. Too small for an adult, too fresh to be old. He looked around carefully. One hand rested near his belt where a small weapon was clipped. His eyes scanned the strange trees that bent like claws. Their leaves glowed faintly, whispering in the wind as if they could speak. James felt his heart beat faster. He had come alone. But he did not feel alone anymore. "Hello?" he called. His voice echoed strangely, almost swallowed by the silence. For a moment, there was nothing, only the distant sound of the wind. Then, soft footsteps touched the ground behind him. He turned quickly, ready for trouble. There she was. A small figure no taller than his waist. A child, but not human. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly as if the moon itself touched her. Her hair was white like snow, falling in tangled strands over her face. Her eyes were large, bright, and shining like crystal lakes. She looked fragile, yet her stare was strong. For a long moment, James did not move. He had met aliens before, but never a child alone in the wild. She tilted her head and spoke in a soft voice, her words strange yet clear in his ears. "Human. Are you single?" James blinked. His mind froze. Of all the questions, of all the dangers, he had never expected this. He almost laughed. But the child's face was serious. Her eyes were filled not with humor, but with hope. He knelt slowly, lowering himself to her level. "Why are you asking me that?" he said carefully. The child looked at him, her lips trembling. She stepped closer, her small hands clutching the edge of his jacket. "My mom," she whispered. "My mom is kind. Very kind. You must meet her. You have to marry her." James felt a chill run down his spine. His first thought was that this was some kind of trick, a strange test or a trap. But when he looked into the child's glowing eyes, he saw no lie, only desperation. She was pleading with him, almost begging. He wanted to ask more, but the sound of movement came from the dark trees. Shapes stirred, shadows shifting between the glowing leaves. James placed himself between the child and the forest, his hand tightening on his weapon. His breath slowed, his instincts sharp. Something or someone was out there, watching. The child pulled his sleeve and whispered again, her voice shaking now. "Please, human, come with me, my people. They are waiting." James looked at her and then at the trees. He felt the choice pressing against him. Stay here and risk being hunted in the dark, or follow this strange alien child into the unknown. He thought about the signal he had followed. The reason he had come to this world, maybe this was it. Maybe the answers were waiting in the place where this child would lead him. He sighed and nodded. "All right, take me to your mother." The child's face lit up with a mix of relief and fear. She turned quickly, leading him down a narrow path between the glowing trees. James followed, every sense awake. He felt the eyes of unseen figures watching him as they walked. The air grew colder, the light dimmer. The forest seemed alive, whispering his name. After minutes of walking, they came to a clearing. Strange lights floated in the air, like fireflies made of glass, and there, in the shadows of a broken wooden structure, James saw more figures, tall and graceful, their skin glowing faintly blue. Their eyes shone with the same light as the child's. They looked at him in silence. Whispering among themselves, the child ran forward, pointing back at James. "Look, I found him. A human, he will help us." James stood still, his hand still. Near his weapon, he felt the weight of many eyes upon him. Some were curious, some cautious, but one gaze was stronger than the rest. A figure stepped forward slowly, taller than the others. Moving with grace and power, it was a woman. Her beauty was unlike anything James had seen. Her skin shimmered like polished stone. Her hair flowed like silver water. Her eyes were deep, filled with wisdom and sorrow. She looked at him with both caution and something else, a hidden spark of hope. The child rushed to her side and held her hand tightly. "Mom, this is the one. This is the human. You must marry him." The mother's face froze, her eyes wide for a moment. She looked at James, and silence filled the clearing. The aliens around them whispered, their voices soft but sharp in the cold air. James felt the world grow heavy. He had traveled across the stars for adventure, for answers, but now, in this strange village, under alien lights, he was being asked something he never imagined. The night deepened, the fireflies glowed brighter. The child's words echoed in his head. "Human, are you single?" James realized he had just stepped into a story far bigger than himself. The clearing was filled with whispers. The tall aliens moved like shadows under the glowing lights. Their faces were calm, but their eyes sharp. Some looked curious, some looked fearful, and others looked angry. Captain James stood in the center. Surrounded, his hand rested on his belt, close to his weapon. But he knew one wrong move could end badly. The child clung to her mother's side, her pale blue skin shining softly in the night. Her small hand squeezed her mother's arm as she looked up at James. "Please, Mom, he is the one. He is human. He can help us, he can help you," she said. Her voice carried a strange mix of innocence and urgency. The mother raised her hand, and the whispers around them faded. She stepped forward slowly, her long hair flowing like silver water. Her eyes locked on James. "You came because of the signal, didn't you?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but there was power in it. James nodded slightly. "Yes. I picked up a transmission. I thought someone was calling for help," he said. The mother studied him for a moment, then glanced at the child, who stared back with wide glowing eyes. "My daughter is bold," she said softly. "She speaks without fear, but what she says may sound strange to you, human." The child shook her head quickly. "No, it is not strange, it is true. You must marry her. You must stay. You must help us survive." James felt the weight of every alien eye upon him. He wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but he could not. The child's eyes were too full of hope, and the silence in the clearing was too heavy. He took a breath. "Why me? Why would you want that from me?" The mother stepped closer. The light touched her face, showing lines of sorrow beneath her beauty. "Because we are dying," she said. Her voice was steady but carried pain. "Our world is fading. Our people are fewer each season. We cannot endure. The signal you followed was not meant for you alone. It was a call to anyone who would listen. But you are the first to come, the first human." James frowned. His mind spun. He thought about all the worlds he had seen, the ruins of once great civilizations, the empty cities swallowed by time. He had always wondered what destroyed them, and now he was standing in the middle of a people who feared the same fate. The child tugged on his sleeve. "You can save us, human. I know you can," she said. Her voice shook, but her eyes glowed with determination. He looked at her, then at her mother, and then at the silent crowd. "I don't even know your people," he said. "I don't know your customs, your ways, or even your name." The mother lifted her chin. "My name is Cerise," she said. "And this is my daughter Lyra." She touched the child's head gently. She believes you are a gift, sent to us, and maybe she is right, or maybe it is only her hope. But hope is something we cannot ignore. Not anymore. The crowd stirred, some nodded, some shook their heads. One tall alien stepped forward. His voice sharp. We do not need him. He is dangerous. A weapon on his belt, suspicion in his eyes. He will bring ruin. Not salvation. Another. Alien spoke, her tone softer. But what if he is the answer? What if the signal called him for a reason? The voices rose, some argued, some defended, and James stood in the middle. The storm of their words surrounding him. He felt like he had walked into a trial where he was both the guest and the prisoner. Cerise raised her hand again. The voices fell silent. She looked at James with steady eyes. This is not about marriage in the way you understand it, she said. This is about survival. Our people need connection, new life. A bridge between us and your kind. Without it, we will fade into nothing. James felt the air tighten around him. The meaning was clear. They wanted more than his presence. They wanted his future. His life tied with theirs. It was not just strange, it was overwhelming. Lyra stepped forward, her small voice breaking the silence. Please, human, my mom is kind. She will take care of you. And you can take care of us. Don't say no. Her eyes were shining with tears. Her little hands reaching out as if she could hold him in place with nothing but her hope. James looked down at her, his heart clenched. He had faced monsters, storms, and death in the void of space. But nothing had ever unsettled him like this small, alien child begging him for something he could barely understand. He glanced at Cerise again. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed her fear. Not fear of him, but of losing what little chance they had left. He realized then that Lyra's words were not a child's foolishness. They were the desperate plea of a dying people wrapped in the innocence of a child's voice. The silence stretched long. The aliens watched, waiting for his answer. The wind rustled the glowing leaves above. James took a slow breath. His mind raced, his heart heavy. He had come looking for a mystery, but instead he found a responsibility. Too large for one man. Before he could speak, a sound broke the stillness. From the edge of the forest, a deep growl echoed. Shadows moved among the trees. The crowd stiffened, and Lyra clutched her mother's arm tightly. Cerise's eyes darkened. They are coming, she said. Her voice was sharp now, filled with warning. James turned, his hand going to his weapon. The forest seemed alive with movement. Glowing eyes blinked in the darkness. Watching, waiting, the child's plea still echoed in his ears. You must help us, human. And now he wondered if her words were not just about survival, but about something far more dangerous that was already on its way. The growl from the forest grew louder. The alien crowd tightened around James, their glowing eyes flicking nervously toward the dark trees. Cerise placed one arm around Lyra, pulling her close. Her voice was sharp but calm. We must move, now, without waiting for his answer. The aliens began to shift, their tall figures gliding through the clearing. James followed as Cerise motioned him forward. He stayed near Lyra, her small hand gripping his jacket tightly. Her eyes shone with fear, but she did not cry. The path wound deeper into the forest. The glowing leaves above shimmered faintly, casting soft light on their faces. Strange whispers floated through the air, sounds like voices carried by the wind. James tried to ignore them, but they brushed against his ears. Calling his name, he shook his head, telling himself it was only his imagination. At last, the trees parted, and James saw it. The hidden village, huts of wood and stone, stood in a circle, their walls decorated with glowing crystals that pulsed like living hearts. Fires burned low in the center of the square, throwing long shadows across the ground. Aliens moved quietly through the village, their tall frames elegant, their skin glowing faintly blue in the dim light. When they saw James, silence fell. Conversations stopped. Work paused. All eyes turned toward him. He felt the weight of 100 stares. Some were filled with wonder, some with distrust. A group of children peeked from behind a hut, their bright eyes wide with curiosity. An elder stood near the fire, his skin lined with faint cracks of light. He leaned on a long staff, watching James closely. Cerise stepped forward with Lyra. "This is the human who answered the signal," she said, her voice carried across the village, steady and strong. "He is the one my daughter has chosen to bring before us." A murmur rose from the crowd. James caught words he did not understand, yet the tone was clear fear, hope. Disbelief. The elder tapped his staff against the ground. The sound echoed like a drum. He spoke slowly, his deep voice carrying weight. "We have waited for many seasons. We sent the signal into the void, but no one came, no one answered. And now? A human stands here, his eyes locked on James. Perhaps this is the moment we feared, or the moment we prayed for." James shifted uneasily. He was used to being the stranger, but never had he felt so judged, so tested by eyes he could not read. He glanced at Lyra, who still held tightly to Cerise. The girl's eyes glowed with determination. She believed he was the answer. Even when he did not believe it himself, Cerise guided him toward the center of the village. The crowd followed. In silence, James noticed the details now. The huts were old but carefully kept. The crystals that lit them seemed alive, breathing with faint pulses of light. He saw faces filled with exhaustion, their eyes carrying stories of loss and survival. By the fire, Cerise turned to him, her voice low but clear. "You must understand. Human, our people are not many. We were strong once, but now? Each year we grow fewer. Our children are rare. Our voices grow weaker. We fear the end." Lyra stepped forward, her small voice carrying in the quiet night. "That is why you must stay. That is why you must be with us, with her, with my mother. We cannot survive alone anymore." James felt his chest tighten. The weight of her words pressed into him. He looked around at the faces staring at him. He saw hope in some eyes, fear in others. The villagers were desperate, and he was the stranger who had stepped into their story. "Why me?" he asked finally. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Why a human?" The elder's voice answered, steady as stone. "Because humans endure, you adapt, you survive where others fall. We have seen this truth across the stars. You are different. And perhaps that difference is what we need to live." The fire crackled, sparks drifting into the night. James thought of Earth, of the wars, the pain, us, the strength of his people. Humans were flawed, broken at times. But they always fought to continue, always found a way. Perhaps the elder was right. Perhaps that was why the signal had reached him. Syrah stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. "We do not ask this lightly. We know what it means. We know it. We'll change everything, but if we do nothing, our people will vanish. My daughter believes you are the one meant to stand with us, and I do not know if it is fate or chance, but I cannot ignore what she sees." Lyra tugged at James's sleeve again, her voice soft but firm. "Please, human, don't leave us. You are here now. That means something." James looked at her, at the small child with glowing eyes and unshakable faith. A key had come chasing a mystery, but now he stood in the heart of it. And he realized that the real mystery was not the signal, but the question of what he would do next. The crowd waited, the fire burned, the crystals pulsed. The silence grew heavy, and then, from the edge of the village, a cry broke through the night. A guard rushed forward, his voice urgent. "The shadows are moving. The forest is alive. They are coming closer." The crowd stirred with fear. Mothers pulled children into their arms. Warriors raised their weapons. The elder's eyes darkened. "It begins," he said. James's hand went to his weapon, his instincts alive again. He did not know who or what they were, but he knew one thing. If he was to survive this night, he would need these people, and they would need him. The fire roared higher. The wind shook the trees. The village prepared for what was coming, and James knew his choice would no longer wait. The night pressed heavy over the village. The fire burned in the center. Glowing crystals pulsed softly on the huts. Shadows stretched long across the ground. Warriors stood at the edges, watching the forest as if danger could break through at any moment. James stood near the fire with Cerise and Lyra. The crowd circled them, silent and waiting. Their glowing eyes reflected both fear and hope. The air was filled with tension, like a storm waiting to break. The elder tapped his staff against the earth. His deep voice echoed, "We must decide now. The shadows will not wait. Our people cannot wait. This human is here. We must ask him the question." James frowned. His hands still rested on his weapon. He did not like the way every eye turned toward him again. He had come looking for answers, not judgment. Yet here he stood, caught in the center of something far greater than himself. Cerise stepped forward. Her silver hair flowed in the firelight. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried the weight of her people. She looked at James and spoke clearly. "You came here because of the signal. You came because you were searching. But we were searching too, and what we need is you." The words hung in the air. James felt the crowd lean closer, listening. Lyra clutched her mother's hand tightly, her glowing eyes fixed on him. Cerise continued, her voice soft but strong. "My daughter has already spoken the words. Our people have whispered in secret. We cannot continue alone. Our bloodline is fading. Our children grow fewer each season if we do not act. Our story ends here." Lyra's voice burst out suddenly, filled with childish honesty. "That's why you must marry her. Human, you must be with her. You must help us, please." Gasps moved through the crowd. Some aliens whispered in shock. Others nodded. There. Voices clashed in a storm of debate. One warrior growled, "This is madness. He is not one of us. He is a stranger, a danger." Another voice, softer but firm, answered, "But he came. He followed the call when no one else did." That must mean something. The elder lifted his staff again, and the voices fell silent. His glowing eyes turned to James. "It is true, human. What the child says is more than a plea. It is our survival. You must choose. Will you walk away, or will you join us? Bind yourself to us and give us hope." James felt his chest tighten. His mind screamed that this was impossible, absurd even. Yet his heart heard something else, the desperate cries of a dying people, the faith in the child's eyes, the calm strength in Cerise's face. He spoke carefully, his voice low. "You ask me to marry, but I barely know you. I don't understand your ways. I don't know if I can give you what you need." Cerise stepped closer. Her eyes did not waver. "We do not ask for love as you know it. We ask for survival, for a chance to live beyond tomorrow. If you stay, if you stand with me, you give us hope, and perhaps in time." More than hope, the crowd leaned in, silent, waiting. The fire crackled between them. James felt the heat on his face. He looked at Lyra, her small hands clenched, her voice whispering again, "Please, human. Don't leave us. Don't let us fade." For a moment, the world around him disappeared. All he saw was the child's eyes, shining with both innocence and desperation. And behind her, Cerise, strong and graceful, her beauty marked with sorrow but also with courage. James drew a slow breath, his words stuck in his throat. He was not a hero. He was a man who followed signals across the stars. But maybe, just maybe, This was what he was meant to find. Before he could answer, a loud crash came from the forest. The guards at the edge shouted. The shadows had moved closer, dark shapes, twisted between the glowing trees, glowing eyes staring from the darkness. The crowd panicked. Mothers pulled children away. Warriors raised their weapons. The elder's voice boomed. The night creatures are here. They test us. They hunt us. We cannot stand divided. Cerise turned to James, her voice sharp now. You must decide, human. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, will you stand with us, or will you stand alone? The ground shook faintly under the growls from the forest. James pulled his weapon free, its light glowing faintly in the night. His breath was heavy. His heart pounded. He looked at Cerise, at Lyra, at the villagers trembling with fear. And then, for the first time since he landed on this world, he felt something clear. He was not just a visitor anymore, not just an explorer. The signal had brought him here for a reason. He raised his weapon, his voice firm. I'll stand with you, A. Cry of relief moved through some of the crowd. Others looked doubtful, but Cerise's eyes softened. Lyra gasped with joy, hugging her mother tightly. The elder struck his staff once more. Then it is spoken, the human will stand with us. He will be part of our people, and together we will face the night. The forest roared with the sound of the unseen creatures. The firelight flickered. The villagers gathered close, preparing. James tightened his grip on his weapon, his decision made, his path set. The proposal was not of love, not of tradition, but of survival, and he had accepted. The night would test that choice, and before dawn, he would learn what it truly meant to be part of them. The night creatures circled beyond the trees, their glowing eyes flickering like hungry fires. The villagers tightened their defenses. Spears and crystal blades shone in the dim light. Mothers shielded their children, and the warriors stood tall. But tense, James kept his weapon ready, his heart pounding with the rhythm of the forest's growls. Cerise placed her hand on his arm, her touch calm yet urgent. Come, she said, before they strike, you must understand why you are here. You must know the truth. James frowned. Truth, now. His voice was low, but sharp. He could not understand how words mattered more than claws waiting in the dark. Cerise nodded firmly. Yes, now. If you fight without knowing, you will fight only for yourself. But if you understand, you may fight for us all. She led him away from the fire. Into a hut made of stone and crystal. Lyra followed close behind. Her eyes still wide, but her steps quick. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light. Carvings marked the stone. Pictures of stars, ships, and tall alien figures. James touched one of the carvings. Feeling the rough surface, Cerise turned to him, her voice steady. Our people were not always this weak. Long ago, we were strong. We traveled the stars. We built great cities. Our voices carried through galaxies. But pride blinded us, and war broke us. We destroyed our own future. James looked at the carvings again. He saw ships falling from the sky. He saw flames carved into stone. He saw figures bent with sorrow. Cerise continued, her eyes heavy with memory. When the war ended, we were fewer, broken, scattered. We tried to rebuild, but the damage was too deep. Our children became rare, our bodies weaker, each generation smaller than the one before. And so we sent the signal, a call to the stars, hoping someone would hear, someone strong enough to help us. Lyra stepped forward, her voice small but clear. And you came, human. That means the stars chose you. James's throat tightened. He thought about Earth, about his own people. They had fought wars too. They had broken themselves again and again. But they had always found a way to endure. Humans were stubborn, reckless, but unyielding. Maybe that was why the signal had found him. He turned back to Cerise. So you want me to give you strength, to stay here, to tie myself to your people. to make sure you don't disappear. Cerise met his eyes. Yes, human, we need more than strength. We need connection. Our blood cannot carry us forward alone. With you, with your kind, we may survive. Without you, we fade into dust. The words pressed into James like a weight. He felt both honored and trapped. He had not come looking for this, yet here it was. A responsibility placed in his hands. The ground trembled faintly. A growl echoed through the night. Closer now. Lyra flinched, but stayed close to her mother. Cerise's voice sharpened. The creatures outside. They are proof of what we face. They are born from the scars of our war, twisted shadows of our past. They come each night, stronger each time. They will not stop until nothing remains. James stared at her, shock running through him. Those things are your creation. Cerise lowered her eyes. Yes, we made them long ago, weapons to destroy our enemies. But war leaves no winners, only ruins. They turned against us, and now we fight the shadows of our own mistakes. The truth cut deeper than he expected. James thought of Earth again. How many times had humans created weapons they could not control? How many times had their inventions come back to haunt them? He realized then that Cerise's people were not so different from his own. Lyra grabbed his hand suddenly, her small fingers cold but firm. That's why we need you, human. You are different. You can face them. You can stand where we fall. Please, don't let them take us too. Her words pierced through him. She was not asking for a hero. She was asking for survival. The ground shook again, louder now. Screams rose outside as the warriors shouted. The creatures had come closer. Their glowing eyes moving through the trees. Cerise's face hardened. It is time, human. If you wish to stand with us, stand now. James raised his weapon, its light. Casting sharp shadows on the walls, his fear twisted into resolve. He had seen enough broken worlds, enough dying people. He could not watch another vanish while he stood aside. He stepped out of the hut with Cerise and Lyra at his side. The villagers gathered around the fire, weapons ready, eyes glowing with fear and hope. The elder raised his staff. The shadows are here. Tonight, we fight not alone. Tonight, the human stands with us. The crowd roared. A sound filled with both fear and courage. The trees shook as the creatures stepped closer. Their bodies twisted, their shapes unclear, their growls shaking the air. James stood tall, a die, his weapon aimed at the darkness. His voice rang out, "Then let's show them. Humans don't run. We fight, we endure." Cerise looked at him with something new in her eyes, not just hope, but belief. Lyra clung to her mother, whispering, "He will save us. I know he will." The forest roared, the fire blazed, the truth was out. The fight was coming. And James knew the night would test not only their strength, but the meaning of what it was to be human. The forest shook as the creatures moved closer. Their growls rumbled like thunder rolling through the trees. The fire in the center of the village flickered wildly, sending sparks into the night air. The villagers gathered, their glowing weapons ready. But fear filled their eyes. James stood tall, his weapon steady in his hands. He had never seen enemies like this before, yet he felt no choice but to face them. The weight of Cerise's people, of Lyra's hope, pressed heavy on his shoulders. He could not walk away, not now, from the darkness. The first creature stepped forward. It was taller than two men. Its body twisted with scars and glowing cracks. Its eyes burned red. Its claws scraped against the earth. Behind it, more shapes stirred, shadows with teeth and eyes that glowed like fire. The villagers gasped, some stepping back. The elder raised his staff high. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Do not let them cross. Tonight, we fight for life." James aimed his weapon and fired. A flash of light cut through the night. Striking the first creature in the chest, it roared, stumbling, but did not fall. Its body healed quickly, the glowing cracks sealing as if fire stitched them closed. Ceresa's voice rang out, "They do not die easily. You must strike their hearts. Only then will they fall." The warriors charged, their crystal blades shining like blue fire. They clashed with the creatures, sparks flying as metal struck claw. Screams and growls filled the night. James moved forward, firing again. His shot hit another beast. Slowing it long enough for a warrior to strike its chest, the creature screamed, its body exploding into smoke and ash. But more came, shadows pouring from the forest, twisting and crawling. Some leaped onto huts, tearing roofs apart. Children screamed. Mothers pulled them away. The village became chaos. James fired again and again, his weapon glowing hot in his hands. Each shot bought a moment. Each shot gave hope. Yet he could see the villagers weakening. They were brave, but their numbers were small. The creatures seemed endless. Lyra clung to her mother, her eyes wide with terror. "Mom," she cried, "they are too many." Ceres pulled her close, her voice strong even through fear. "We will stand. We must stand." She looked at James. "Do not falter. Human, they are watching you. They believe because of you." Her words cut into him. He realized the truth. He fell. Their hope would fall with him if he stood. They might hold together. James gritted his teeth and charged forward. His weapon firing at close range, he ducked under a claw, rolled, and aimed at a beast's chest. The shot pierced through, and the monster collapsed into smoke. Another leaped at him, but he swung the hot edge of his weapon, striking it across the face. It screamed and fell back. The villagers cheered. There. Voices rising with courage. They followed his lead, striking harder, pushing forward. For a moment, it seemed they might hold. But then, the ground split. A roar shook the village, louder than all before. From the forest came a giant, a creature 3 times larger than the rest. Its body glowed with firecracks. Its eyes burned like suns. Each step shook the ground beneath them. The villagers froze. Fear gripped their hearts. Some dropped their weapons. The elder whispered, "The first of them." The oldest, the Shadow Lord, the beast, roared again. Its voice like stone breaking mountains. It swung one massive claw, smashing through a hut. The walls shattered, sending shards of wood and crystal flying. James steadied his weapon, sweat on his brow, his voice sharp. "Ceres, how do we kill it?" Ceresa's face was pale, her voice quiet. "We do not. It cannot die. Not by our hands. Only with something new, something beyond us." Her eyes locked on him. "That is why you are here." James's chest tightened. He felt the weight of destiny pressing down. The signal, the plea. The proposal was never about chance. It was about this moment. The Shadow Lord stepped closer. Its glowing eyes locked on James. It growled, low and deep, as if it recognized him. The air grew heavy. The fire dimmed. Silence fell across the village. Every alien, every child, every warrior looked to the human. James swallowed, his voice low. "So it's me. It's always been me." Ceres placed her hand on his shoulder, her voice steady. "Yes, human. You must face it. If you do not, none of us will see the dawn." Lyra's small voice broke the silence, filled with both fear and belief. "You can do it. I know you can. You are stronger than the shadows." James lifted his weapon, his eyes on the towering beast. The ground trembled with each step it took. The villagers stepped back. Forming a wide circle, the fire burned low. The night held its breath. This was no longer just survival. This was a test. A battle not only for the village, but for the meaning of his presence on this world. The Shadow Lord roared, its claws raised high. James tightened his grip, his voice steady as steel. Then let's finish this, and with that, he charged. James charged toward the Shadow Lord. His boots pounded against the earth. The air heavy with smoke and fear, the monster's roar split the night. Shaking the ground as its massive claw came crashing down, James rolled to the side, dust spraying. Into his eyes, the impact shattered the ground where he had stood only moments before. The villagers screamed. Warriors raised their weapons, but none dared get too close. They had faced creatures before, but never this one. This was the nightmare of their stories, the shadow of their past made flesh. James fired his weapon. A bolt of light striking the beast's chest. The Shadow Lord roared, the wound glowing. Bright for a moment before sealing again, its body healed just as Cerise had warned. Stronger than the others, the giant claw swung again. James barely leaped aside, the force of the strike knocking him to the ground. He scrambled up, firing again. And again. But each shot only slowed the beast. Never stopped it. James. Cerise shouted, her voice sharp with urgency. She rushed closer, her silver hair glowing in the firelight. It will not die from your weapon alone. You must choose. You must give more than strength. James's chest heaved, sweat running down. His face, he fired again, another useless shot. His mind spun. Choose what? Tell me what I'm supposed to do. The elder's voice rose over the chaos, deep and commanding. It is the bond, human. The bond of blood and spirit. If you join with us, if you bind yourself to Cerise, you will carry our strength, and we will carry yours. Only then can the Shadow Lord be broken. The words hit him like a blow. He froze, his heart racing. The proposal, the plea. The talk of survival lit was all leading to this. To stand against the shadow, he had to become one with them. The Shadow Lord roared again, stepping forward. Its burning eyes locked only on him. James felt the weight of destiny pressing against his chest. He looked at Cerise, her eyes steady. Her face filled with both fear and belief. Lyra clung to her mother's arm, her voice trembling. Please, human, do it. You can save us. James's mind screamed. He was one man, an explorer, a wanderer, not a savior. But he could see the truth in their faces. Without him, they would fall. The village would burn. The people would fade. Into nothing, the monster's claw came down again. James rolled forward. Dodging by inches, he rose to his feet and shouted over the roar. Cerise, if I do this, if I bind myself, what happens to me? Cerise's eyes softened. Her voice broke with honesty. You will no longer be only human. You will be more or less. I do not know, but you will never be the same. The choice cut deep. He could walk away, stay himself, keep his freedom, or he could bind his life to these people, to this world, and carry their fate as his own. The Shadow Lord roared, raising both claws high. The ground trembled like an earthquake. Huts cracked, the fire wavered, the villagers screamed. James's decision came like lightning, fast and unstoppable. He ran toward Cerise, his voice firm. Then let's do it. Bind me now. Cerise's eyes widened, then narrowed with resolve. She raised her hands. The crystals in the village pulsed brighter, glowing with blue light. The villagers gasped, their voices rising in chants. The elder raised his staff high. The bond begins, the bond of survival. James felt heat rush into his chest. His weapon glowed brighter, his body shaking as energy flowed through him. Cerise's hands touched his shoulders. Her eyes locked with his, light spread from her skin to his. Like rivers of fire and water joining, he screamed as power surged through him. Pain and strength mixed. His vision blurred. He saw stars, fire, endless darkness, and then light again. When his eyes cleared, he stood taller, his skin faintly glowing. His weapon pulsed as if alive in his hands. The Shadow Lord stepped forward, roaring in fury. James felt fear rise again. But this time, strength burned within him too. He aimed. His voice steady. For your people, for your future. He fired. The weapon blazed brighter than ever before. The bolt struck the Shadow Lord's chest, exploding into light. For the first time, the beast screamed in pain. Real pain. Its body. Cracked, glowing fissures spreading across its skin. The villagers roared with hope. Their voices rose. Human. 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 James fired again, each shot tearing into the beast, Cerese's strength flowing through him, Lyra's belief burning in his heart. The Shadow Lord staggered, its roars shaking the night, but then it laughed, a deep, broken sound. Its burning eyes locked on James. Its voice rumbled like thunder. You may strike me, human. But the bond is not complete. The choice is not finished. The ground shook violently. Crystals shattered. The beast raised its claws one final time. James tightened his grip, sweat dripping. His heart raced. He knew the Shadow Lord spoke truth. The bond had given him strength, but it demanded more. Not just a promise, but a final choice. Behind him, Cerese's voice broke through the chaos. James. If you strike again, if you give yourself fully, there is no turning back. You will be ours forever. The villagers waited, silent now, every eye fixed on him. The fire burned low. The night held its breath. The child's voice whispered, Please, human, choose us. James's chest heaved. His mind split between two paths, freedom or fate, self or sacrifice. He lifted his weapon. The light burning bright, the Shadow Lord roared. Waiting, Cerese's eyes shone with hope. Lyra's small hands reached toward him. The village trembled. On the edge of ruin, and James knew, in the next breath, his choice would change not only his life, but the future of two worlds. The screen of fire and smoke swallowed the night. His voice echoed, I choose, then silence.